Hello, welcome back to my channel. Thank you for coming back, and as always, huge massive thank you for the support. I really do appreciate it. So I'm coming back with the teenage years decoupage toppers. This one I decided to come back with today is the time to chill out one, with the sort of lads enjoying their sort of pizza movie night, although this guy's got a football. And then you've got your girls on their trip to London. So that's what we're going to be playing with today. So let's just pop that to the side. And I'm going to bring in, so I've got a piece of ink in my cardstock. I've taken it from the A3 pad. I've cut it down to 14 inches. And then I did have to put a score in at 5 so that I can cut it at the 5 inches as well. What I'm going to do is just bring in my scoreboard. And I'm just going to score that other side at that 2 inches. And then I can pop that out of the way. We'll give that a little burnish down. And that is going to be the card blank that we are playing with today. Okay, so I bring in my trimmer and some gold mirror card. And I need a piece for the inside, which is going to be 5 by 7. So let's put that little leg out, and I'm going to go 2 notches under the 5 by 2 notches under the 7, and that will fit inside. And then if I cut this down to 2 notches under the 5 again, and I need a piece that's going to be 2 notches under the 5 for this side, and then 2 notches under the 2, and then I will need another piece. So I'm going to cut this down now. I want to use those new little book of inserts that we've got, and I want a birthday one or an adventure one. On to the next adventure we could go with. Let's just go with many happy returns and be a little bit boring. And let me just quickly measure this out, because I'm going to have to cut this down because obviously it's not going to fit in that way. So it needs to be, let's take an inch off each side. So what is it that way? It is 4.2, so let's try and get it to 4.2. So we've made ourselves a little square, and then if I take this and cut this to 4 1/4, so that was 4.2 or 4 and 2 notches as I'm saying here. And then that piece should fit quite nicely onto there. Nope, it won't. Where have we got to with that? We've gone 4 under the 2. I think I did that last time. So it was 4 under the 2. I might need to take another 2 notches off that. No. Oh. Sometimes I just annoy myself so much. Let's just check, is there any way we can start? Let's cut the insert a little bit rather than cutting the foil again. So it's perfect that way. We just need to take 2 notches off. I'll take it from the top so there's more room to write at the bottom. And then that now should fit quite nicely onto there. And I'm happy with that. So that's the inside. Sometimes I do just annoy myself so much when I do it wrong that way. Right, anyway, moving on. I have caught up a little bit on my sleep, but I'm not 100%. You know what it's like when you have one good night's sleep after 3 bad, and then it's just like you feel like worse than the other days. But I will get there. let's pop that to the side. Now for the front, what I want is some of this scene. So I'm going to cut this to 4 3/4, and then we just have to decide what we want. So I'm going to take a little bit off this side because I feel like I really want that telephone would look good on that side there. So let's cut that to 1 3/4, and we've got our beautiful little box. And then I can just take that to 4 3/4 for the rest of that scene. So I'm not going to break up the scene as such, but I think it just makes sense to have that nice big telephone box on there. And I could even decoupage that up if you wanted to, you know, but I'm not going to, but you could. So these bits, actually there's smaller bits I'll just pop in the bin, but this sort of bigger bit here, it's got a nice pattern on it, so we will pop that on the back, in the book. And then we want another piece for the inside, but I am going to be using this side here. I'm not even going to look at the other side and try and save anything. I'm just going to take it to 4 3 notches by 6 3 notches. And then that should go onto there quite nicely, and then we'll have our insert on there as well. Again, those bits can go back into the pad. You never know when you just want that little bit of pretty papers. Like on the second card there is a spot where something like that would work, although not with these papers. Right, okay, so let's just pop all these bits out. Okay, so the glues I'm going to be using today, I've got the Cloud All-Purpose Glue, I've got the Cloud Tacky Glue, I've got my dotty tape pen, probably going to be using my purple glue stick as well. So let's just make sure I've got it the right way. So I want the smaller piece on that right hand side. So with the cardstock, I'm going to use my normal glue. So I do use the 2 glues, that's just my thing. On the cardstock, any of these glues would work. You might have something else you use that works better for you. Thousands of glues out there. You may not even be a glue fan. Maybe you like the tape pens or the double-sided sticky tape, or you know, it's whatever works for you really. And I have to say, mostly these do work for me. Now, have I got these the right way up? Yes, I have. And this, because it's paper, I'm using the dotty tape pen on the edge, not the tacky glue, just because I find sometimes it makes my paper bubble up. So I'm not going to risk it. So that's our inside. Now, I do want to pop this on. Now, I'm not going to put any pads on. I don't want any height, because this is going to be on the inside. And because it's paper, I need to just pop something on that edge there, because that is bothering me. Because it is paper, I've used those dots again. Now what I can do is just gently lift that up, pop a dot on the end, and that will go down. But this one, now that it's onto my cardstock, can just go back to my normal glues, and we're going to pop that in the middle. Now what you could do, like I said before about, you know, cutting bits out of the paper, you know, maybe if you had another piece left over of one of these, the bus or the phone, you could cut that out and stick that on the inside to tie it in. But I'm going to leave it as it is. I think it's pretty. You open that up, you've got that there. Okay, so now remembering to put the dots on the right side, because I want that scene. We're going to go in and pop this onto our cardstock. And honestly, this book, I mean, even if you didn't have any of the toppers, you could be decoupaging this image up. It would be great for scrapbooking if you've got if you've had a trip to London to see the shows, or shopping, etc., or a meal. My sister used to go down with her friends for a meal. They had specific places they'd like to go. Maybe you're abroad and you've got a friend that is, I'm just going to move that over because I've just caught my eye and it's annoying me. Maybe you've got a friend who's a Brit and you're just looking for something to put on their card. So all I'm doing is just easing up those dots, and that will still allow me to just move that over. Just easing that into place. I think that mat is slightly wider than the paper, but that is a much better fit than it was before. Okay, and that's the brilliant thing about these glues, is that you get that wiggle room time, which, to be fair, I do need. So again, we're going in with those two glues. Now we're on the cardstock. It's just sort of normal crafting from here on out. Just making sure I've got the card the right way. And if I turn it around, you'll probably see it better. Oops. And then when you're happy, you can move on. And actually, thinking about it, for a gentleman's card, I mean, this just matted and layered like this, obviously not the inside with all the shoes and things, maybe just the plainer inside. There's plenty of Dewar design books with sort of plain stripes, dots, or just like the damask patterns. I mean, that with a sentiment would be quite nice for a gentleman's card as well, or, you know, somebody doesn't really like a fuss, or just likes images of these sort of places. But we are going to bring in our young ladies. And I am planning on using all of the decoupage on these ones, just for a little bit of variation, but I did start putting some of the pads on the back, but it was getting hard to see where the lines were, so some of these I will have to put pads on, and I'm only using 1mm pads because I don't want it to be too high. And we just have to work out, so we've got our little girl with her coffee, our one with the phone, if that will come out. Oops, that was a little bit more in. We've got another little phone hand here, and that's the boy with the phone there. They've all got their phones. Yeah, I think that's that. Now, having put that phone box there, I'm not entirely sure I want to cover it up, but I am. And I think what I'm going to do is just bring in a little bit of gold to back this, just to bring it away from that piece. So let's just grab my little bit box. I'll bring in the guillotine on this one. So it needs to be 2.5, I think, 2.5. Yeah, by 3.5 plus 1. 3.5 plus 1. And I think that's just going to bring that away from that scene a little bit more. Let's pop that onto there. Okay. So this is just going nice and flat. It is cardstock, so I don't have to worry too much. What I have done is just seen one little pip there, which is on. You could be going with black, would make that stand out quite nicely as well. The matting and layering is a little bit off today, so I think what I'm going to do is just bring that back. Just while it's on there, just super carefully, just nibble a bit off that end. That's a bit better. Just was a little wider than the other side. It still is a little wider, but it's not as wide as it was. There we go. Happy with that. Okay, so let's go ahead and pop these on. Now I have cut, because I knew I thought I'd got all of the bigger pieces on. Let's just turn them over and do them all in one go. So bigger pieces. And then I've got some, and all I've done is just cut some of these in half. It's really easy to do. And I might have to just go a little narrower with some of these, because these arm pieces are quite skinny. Probably the skinny strips will work perfect with these. I have got some skinny strips, but I tend to use them on my design team cards. Just pop a little bit there, hopefully that's not hanging over. And with the foam pads and things, you might not want to put as many as me on. I do tend to put a nice amount of support on, mainly because a lot of my cards will go into boxes while I am deciding what I'm doing with them. Mostly they do end up going to charity when there's loads of them. The Cats Protection League have been kind enough to collect quite a few. I just want a little piece on there, I think. Narrower piece will do. Let's just go up there a little and pop that onto there. That'll be fine. Okay, so I am going to use the purple glue stick on these, probably not on the smaller pieces to be honest, but definitely on these bigger pieces where there's not so many filigree, just because I tend to press quite hard. Just got to get that onto there. We could have put one on the older Big Ben in the middle, but I'm sure Big Ben has been standing a long time. I think it can manage without a foam pad for today. We can just come in. This one should pretty much just go straight over the top. And that's going to start to really help support that. Again. So now we're bringing these girls to the foreground. I don't think I've taken the back off that one. Nope, I haven't. A little bit of glue on there. And then we can pop our young ladies in. I think we should give some names to these. I kind of feel like one, oops, is going to be a Megan. And one is going to be a Paige. And then we need to find a name for the other one. Let's go for a different name and call her Rosa. So we've got Megan, Paige and Rosa. And this is what they're called. Although this one looks a little bit like Kate, doesn't she? Princess Kate. Princess Catherine. Her over a bit because her rosa's not matching up properly. There we go. That purple glue stick just gives you that ability to just give it a little move. So we've got Rosa and Megan. And we've got Megan's arm. Megan's arm. And Rosa's arm. Okay, let's do Rosa first. It's funny, isn't it, when you see a sort of face and you put a name to it. It's let's go with the tacky glue on these smaller pieces. So it's still going to give us that bit of wiggle room time. You can use your tweezers if the bits are small for you to handle. Those reverse tweezers are perfect for this. There's Rosa's head. Let's give her a cup of coffee. And here we go with our Megan. And you could be shaping these if you're using your glue gel and stuff, rounding the edges. I've kept them quite flat. I think they look okay flat, but if you want a more realistic look, then just giving them a gentle shape in your hands. Maybe I should try and remember to do that on the second card, and then you can see if you like the difference. Here we go. Everybody's ready to say cheese. Here's one arm and two, and you don't have to use all the decoupage, and actually normally I only use one or two, but I just thought it'd be nice to use all of it on this one. There we go. So we've got our piece here. Now I am going to come more to the left. So I'm going to have quite a nice amount of places to glue, and I'm going flat because we've got all that height on the decoupage. So I might go just a little further. So and this sort of all-purpose glue, it will rub away if we get it in the wrong place. The only thing is just to make sure you don't put it on any gold mirror you want to keep, because it can just take that finish away. Now if I just put that under, I just want to make sure I get that straight. Let me bring in that little ruler here. Just doesn't get it right every time for me, because obviously my layers slightly change the angles, but it does give me an idea. So I'm going to leave that like that so that this doesn't push the topper over. But there is a sentiment on this one. I think it's to someone special, and that's going to stand out quite nicely on that corner. And this one I will go with some 2mm foam pads. If I can find now where I've hidden them. There we go. We'll use these ones that I've cut down a bit. And I think we do need a little bit of bling as well. And I'm going to put that at the angle there, so I'm not going to bother with any wiggle room on those. Now, shall I go? We really do need some nice pink ones. I've got these hot pink. And is that too pink? Maybe it is. These little, let's go with these little enamel dots. These I think were Crafter's Companion. They have a brand. Oh, it's not. It is by Crafter's Companion. So these are little diddy dots. I can't remember what it is, but they have a brand that they use for their stores. And this was what these were. But you could be using normal gems. I'm not going to put anything on that side at all. I'm going to leave that as it is. Now these are self-adhesive. You could be using Nuvo drops, those sort of things. If you want to just be a little wary with the shiny paper, just keep an eye on it. Don't go too high or it'll, but you can use those. But that is going to be my first card, which is going to be that 5x7 gatefold. Again, it's not looking tiny on this card. The card is still a decent size, not too big, mind you. That's card number 1. I'm going to leave it like that to dry, or, you know, just to settle down while I'm making the next card. And I'm just going to get set up for card number 2. Okay, so for card number 2, I decided I was going to do a smaller card. So this image is pretty much going to fill a lot of it. So I've got a 5x5 card blank, which I've not scored straight. So let me just get that sorted. There we go. And I've also got a piece of 5x4.5, because what I want to do is put a step on it. So that second image of the lads on the sofa, it's sort of shaped around their heads, and I kind of thought that's perfect for having them come over the edge of something. So I toyed with the idea of an acetate sort of cutaway and those sort of things, but I kind of settled on this card with a step, and then I decided to go just that little bit smaller, just for the fun of it, really. So I've done that and not told you what I was doing. So on this piece of 5x4.5, I've just scored at 2 and at 4, just to give me that sort of big step there. And then I like to stick mine to the front of the card. So depending on how you are going to stick this, so I like to pop mine on this way and hide it under the layers. I don't like that ridge behind, but if you like the ridge behind and you want to hide it with a border or just leave it as it is, then you're going to put your tape on the front. But this is the way that I like to do them, because I think it's hardly noticeable once the layers are on. So I'm just going to peel that off. And on this piece where there's no tape there and there, I'm just going to pop a little bit of tacky glue. And what that will do is the tape will hold it in place, and that tacky glue will just make sure that those ends don't come up. You know how weird I am about ends flapping up on the cards. So that's going to go on. Just put that up to the bottom, and then what we can do is just come in, give that all a really lovely burnish down, and we should find that that's going to stand nicely for us. And obviously these boys are going to come forward a little bit anyway. So let's come in with my trimmer. We'll bring in that gold again. So this piece at the back is 5 inches, so I'm going to take a piece that's 2 notches under the 5, and I'm going to cut that to 2 notches under the 5. That's going to go on to the back there. And then this piece here is 2x5, so it's already 2 notches under the 5, so I can just take 2 notches under the 2, and I've got my piece for the front. Now it's worth mentioning, in the Brilliant Backgrounds book, there are 12 pages of decorated 12 designs, let's say. Let's bring those in. So and you've got 16 toppers, 16 different toppers, so it's obviously not going to get some that match exactly. So I'm not going to use this book, although with them having the pizza and things, you could come in with the pizza design from the sort of bar there, the burger bar. You could come in with the graffiti, would work quite well, maybe even the boots. You know, you could be using those, but I'm going to put that book to the side for a second. I'm going to bring in 2 other books. So the first book is, and it's, apologies, it's fallen to pieces. This is my Golden Oldies book, and I've picked this one with this sort of knit on. And what I want is for this to be my carpet. So I'm going to cut a piece that's going to be 1 3/4 by 4 3/4. So I know it is knitted, but I think it kind of fits in. And if I grab my lads here, my young boys, I kind of felt it kind of mixed, you know, the tones kind of go in with his jeans, middle boy there. They look like McFly to me. Might be showing my age a bit there. I know they're still about, but they do look like McFly. So that's our base piece. And then I wanted something that was a bit wallpaper-ish. And I decided to go with this one, which is the Magical Landscapes and Stunning Swirls. So apologies, I haven't checked if any of these pads are still in stock. But what I'm looking for is, I'm going to go maybe with this lighter side here. I'm just going to cut a piece that's 4 3/4. So I was just looking for something that was blue, darker blue, because both the outside boys have got the darker jeans on. And something that was, you know, vaguely wallpaperish. So look through what you've got if you're copying this card. If you haven't got that exact one, then you can always just swap it out for something else. I mean, there is the damask one that was recently. I did toy with that idea. There are hundreds. You could just go with a stripe and a plain, maybe swap these around depending on what you've got. Okay, so let's go ahead and pop these down. I mean, if you've got people, lads that are into the Dungeons and Dragons, you could possibly even use the other side and put them on the sofa in front of that magical world, you know. Let's just put these on. And this is when these little scraps and things, I know I've cut into it, but I did check. I didn't think I had something that would fit, so. You know, anything that looks a bit carpety is where I'm going with this one. Okay. So again, on these, I'm going to use all of the decoupage. So I'm going to use the whole sheet up, and we're going to go have the lighter bit towards the top. Apologies if you can hear my tummy gurgling. I had a little bit of toast a little while ago, so I'm really not hungry. Although saying that, Geronimo did eat a lot of it. He does love his toast in the morning. I don't think I've ever met a dog that doesn't like toast in the morning. Poor old Henry can't have it because it's got the wheat in and stuff, but yeah, they do like it. Okay, so this one, I'm not going to put any gold behind them or anything. I'm going to pop them directly on there. And I think, no, I'm going to just use tacky glue on them. And I'm going to go just down this bottom section. And then we're going to have them around about there. I want room for the sentiment somewhere up there, I think. Let's just grab that quickly before that glue goes off. So yeah, plenty of room up there. So I think they're about straight. There we are. Okay. Now again, I have put some of the pads on. But like I say, it was getting a bit difficult to see them from the back. So, and I will try and shape them a little bit. Let's just grab all of these pieces out. I don't know why I'm doing it from that side. It will be much easier to do it from the side where you can see what you're popping. And just be a little bit careful if some of those pips are a bit stubborn. So we've got the snacks. We can't use the snaps. just grab my knife with this one. Don't want to lose my bottle of Coke, although we could always add it on. Just that pip is just being a little bit stubborn. Got our little mobile phone. Oops, good job that came out in one piece. We've got our snacks, we've got our heads. And that is there. Now what I'm going to do is just grab my scissors, and you won't need to do this, but I just need that header just so I know what I'm putting on the video, so I know it's time to chill out. Okay, so let's grab our pieces, so that's fine. That's got some, and just check your little landlocked areas. Make sure you are popping all of those out. It's a bit tight there as well. And I generally don't check these for pips and things. I kind of just leave those. My backing's just come up a bit, so I'm just going to tidy that down. So let's bring these back in. Got my squares there, got some more squares over there. Let's pop that, and then we can move on to these bigger pieces here. That's going to be fine. Let's grab these squares for here. And then if I just grab my scissors again, and I'll just get rid of that. And pop one on there. Pop 1, 2 and 3. It doesn't matter how sort of Frankenstein these look, because this is all behind the scenes. If it doesn't stick to your hands, nobody's going to see it. And again, just trimming down as you need them. Don't have to be stuck with, actually I'll pop that on there. One size of pad. Yeah, feel free to chop into them. It's only foam. Really easy to do. And pop one on there, one on there, and I want to just get a bit of support for that Coke bottle on that one there, just because it's out on its own. Okay, and I think that is it. Okay, so let's go with the bigger pieces first. Now what I'm going to do is just use my hands just to shape them. So these lads would normally be a little bit rounded, like with their head. So you can just see, I'll put it like so. Hopefully you can see that they are just a little bit rounded. And what I like to do is where there is a sort of natural edge, just pop my nail in and give that another little bend. So it just pops the other one sort of forward a little bit, like so. And you will see a little bit of creasing in the card, but it doesn't detract from the image. So you don't see it from the front side is what I'm trying to say. But you will see it from the back. And the hands, I think, are the best thing to do this with sometimes because they're warm. And the warmness with the paper does help it sort of move. Okay, So because they do look like a McFly to me, I'm going to call them Tom, Harry and Dougie. Now this guy looks like Dougie and then Tom, so end guy will have to be Harry. Which ones are next? It's this one. So again, just using my nail to ease those lads around. There's put a little bit of dimension to it, so I think you can see a bit more on that one. That was a bit more rounded. And this is all optional, you know, you can go flat, you can sort of add a bit of shape if you want to. I can see now, I turn that over, that there is just a bit of paper there, so I'll just pop it out of the way. Now this bit should just line up pretty much with the bottom of the image, so I can just manoeuvre that in. You can see those lads are starting to pop out now. So again, just using my hands just to ease them around. I'm just go a little quiet while I'm getting these foam pads off the back, so apologies. I'm planning on at least one more video with these decoupage toppers. I kind of was expecting my clockwork kit was going to turn up yesterday, but then I remembered I ordered it after 4, so that's probably not going to be here till Tuesday. So we'll see. So that, but I might still have a play with those so this one doesn't really need to be shaped because it's just flat food. Might still have a play with those bookmark ones, maybe just 1 or 2 videos, or maybe just 1. We'll see, but there's going to be at least 1 more video with this kit. And what I've done on my Pinterest is I've created a section. So I know I did mention a little while ago that I was starting to try and organize my Pinterest in a way that, you know, if you had a kit and you were looking to make a card with that kit, you could click on the kit and see all the cards that I'd done with it. Which kind of does make things easier for me going forward, that if I do a family member's one and I'm using an older kit, I can still put a photo in and it goes in there where it's relevant. So what I've done though with the little books that I did for the design team, I've put them, I'm going to do little books in a section on their own, so not one specific little book. So all of the little books will go in that section, and same for these decoupage toppers. Although I haven't organised the older ones, so these can be shaped a little bit because they're bowls. So what will happen is, if you've got decoupage toppers, you should be able to see on that section eventually all of the cards I've made with decoupage toppers, so that you'll see what sort of card shapes work with them. And there is loads of card shapes that work with them, and they don't have to be tiny, they don't have to be big, it can be whatever you want them to be. So you just have to decide on how you want to use them. Like today I decided to go that little bit smaller on this one, and obviously a 5x7 on the other, which is, it's a decent size, it's not tiny. Let's just go with a little bit of tacky glue on these smaller pieces. So there's Tom's phone, probably writing a song on it as we speak. There we go, there's Tom. Let's get Tom's head. Harry. A little bit of glue. Glue's a bit squirgy. Just got a little pip on Harry, so let's just get rid of Harry's pip. There he is, and obviously with the tacky glue it's a bit more slidey. So obviously, oh, Harry decided to look down. There we go, Harry, stay where you're supposed to. And then this is Dougie. What I'm going to do with Dougie is just use my reverse tweezers, I think. There you go. Just make sure Tom's in the right place and Harry. There we go. So there's our little lads chilling out. Let's grab some 2mm foam pads. I'm going to do the same as I did with the other, just because we've got that height on there anyway. You might have to look at making a box or a boxelope, depending on what give your envelopes have. I think a lot of them will do quite well. If it's really tight though, just be a little bit aware. Now let me just pop that on there. Now I definitely feel like we do need some gems, and I'm going to come in with these blues. I'm going to have a little bit of, try and pick the same colour. That's too big, this one. So we're going to have that one there. I'm going to come in with a bigger one and a smaller one there, so because we've got that big circle. And then at the bottom here, just going to go for 2. Actually, these are not the biggest ones, they're the medium ones. Medium ones on there. Just wondering whether I want something on these corners. Let's just have a little look at the card stood up. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Let's just bring a bit more interest by putting some more up here. So we're going to go with 3 on this side and 2 on this side. Okay, and that is going to be that card finished. There we go. So we've got our McFly boys thinking about writing songs and such like. There we go, and that's going to be our second card. So that's that 5x5 with a step, and then we've got our lovely ladies, Paige, Megan and Rosa, enjoying their London trip on there. What I would say as well is, let's say for example you are thinking about giving whoever you're sending this card to tickets to a show or whatever. Instead of popping this on the inside, what you could do is pop the background on and then cut a piece, either a sort of a piece like so, obviously it would fit, and you could tuck your tickets in, or if it's a gift voucher for shopping in London, you know, you could do that rather than having that insert there. So you've got options, just a different way to just maybe present that present if you are looking for something. So that was the time to chill out. I can't show you anything left on the actual sheet because we did use all of the layers today, and I don't think you can really tell, even though I've shaped them there. I don't think, I mean, maybe it might show up more in the photos, but even with the shaping, I don't think it makes that much of a difference. Oh, his phone's on the wonk. There you go, behave yourself. Yeah, I don't think it makes all that much of a difference, but it's down to preference, isn't it, at the end of the day, as so many things are. But I will be back with another video on these Teenage Years Decoupage toppers shortly. And until next time, happy crafting. Bye.